Hello, everybody. I am so excited because I'm back here at headquarters with my friend, Dr. Funke Brown. Hello, hello.
Hi, good to see you.
So good to see you. It's always
Always.
a good day when I have you here. So thanks for joining me because today what I wanted to do briefly is just talk to you and with everybody watching about why it is so important to be proactive about teaching kids and teens, especially those with ADHD, how to sleep. And as you know, in my Teach Me ADHD course, I talk to kids about this in Training Mission 2 because my philosophy has always been immediately after the diagnosis and or if families are struggling and not really making good headway with their ADHD treatment plan, that maybe it's time to sort of re-onboard everybody together. So this class
Mhm,
is for kids and parents to take together. So that way they learn everything together and have, activities and tools put in place week to week to work on these things. Because as you know, with ADHD, you've got to work with the ADHD brain. You've got to put in systems. And it can't be just the parent telling the kiddo, you got to go to sleep, or the kid, you've got to have buy-in from everybody, right?
mhm.
So that's my philosophy, and that's why I really created this course. But as a sleep medicine specialist, how about you? Like, what do you think about this?
You hit the nail right on the head. You need buy-in, and our kids need that support. Because even as parents, you're observing them and you already can see the impact of sleep or lack thereof
Yes.
on some of the behaviors, some of the decisions. It's connected, but they don't see it. They're living in it, right? They're in that spiral. So really engaging with them and supporting them is so important. I love that. It's like teamwork, honestly.
Yes.
One of the things I actually posted on social media today and said, when you tell people to, try again, like, did you turn it off? Did you restart? That's the same analogy with sleep. Like, you see these kids and you're like, just go to sleep. I wish you could just sleep and let's try again, really, because it's so critical to their mood, learning, cognition, development, the ability, executive function, right?
Yeah.
Which is
Yes.
such a huge piece. And so, and I love that that's just so early in your course. Like, that's something that you're emphasizing because it's almost like it's so fundamental.
Mhm.
And based on good sleep, we can then start to put in, the strategies and things like that. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in general, like the media and most families, they're used to pediatricians talking about how important it is to teach babies
Mm,
how to self-soothe and do, sleep
yeah.
training, but we somehow like that message isn't as loud for
Mm,
kids and teens with ADHD. I mean, a lot of times I get the question, "Oh my goodness, if we're going to start medicine, is it going to really mess up their sleep habits?" But quite honestly, the truth is that individuals with ADHD, they often have poor sleep habits to begin with. It's not necessarily
mhm,
made worse by medication. And
mhm,
and sometimes when you find the right medicine, it actually can help them with sleep. So that's another thing that, I think along the way, families learn how important that role in is of sleep. Because like you said, sleep affects how we feel, our concentration, and just how we can relate to others. Because if you think about it, when you've not slept well, are you quicker to react? Can you like focus when you need to? And it's
yeah.
worse for kids, right? And
Mm,
so um I think being proactive and really helping them understand in child-friendly ways the importance
mhm,
of sleep, and then putting it on them to kind of reflect on that. Like, oh yeah, when I didn't sleep good, I had a hard time at school. Then I got in
mm,
trouble. You know what I mean? That just sort of helps them connect the dots, like you said.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
That is so true. And I love what you're saying. Like, you're helping them make those connections themselves. You can't connect it for them, but you can help them really understand it and kind of, you know, describe or see how they feel when they sleep compared to when they don't sleep.
Mhm.
And it's so funny too because children with ADHD, the prevalence of sleep problems, it's so common.
Mhm.
In fact, there's been some school of thoughts that have said sleep should probably be just, it's not just sort of, what you call like comorbidities, meaning like these are some of their symptoms. It's almost as if it's part of the definition, more or less, one way or the other, some part of their sleep is affected. And there's several schools of thoughts, like what came first? Is it the lack of sleep that's also contributing to the manifestations they have with inattention and focus and things like that? Or is it the fact that they're already so wired that then their sleep is affected as well as, other functions and things? So we don't know. Definitely what we do know is, the sleep hormone melatonin, for instance, which our bodies naturally produce, is produced abnormally, whether it's in less quantity, whether it's the timing, we're not necessarily sure how exactly, but the production is abnormal in children with ADHD and children that are also developing differently, like autism and some other disorders. There's so they're already primed to have sleep issues.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, we now have so many layers. They're distractible. They want to be on devices. So there's all those things, and it becomes this conundrum.
Yes. And as you know,
Mm,
ADHD seldom runs alone, right? I mean,
mm,
later we might uncover, a child with ADHD also has anxiety,
mm.
which can affect sleep.
Yep.
Um, other things like depression,
Mm,
right? And so it's really important to help families understand and observe, learn to together, not just the
mm,
child, but the parent, to look at like, how is the sleep environment? How can we begin to kind of do what we know that we can
mm,
do to make sure sleep is, first of all, protected, and
mm,
why? And then also, what can we do to help our child transition into sleep well, right?
mm,
But as you know, because you deal with a lot of teenagers around this
mm.
issue, you can't just say, you need to go to bed now, because that's often met with like so much resistance, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So, really, it's one of those parts of ADHD chronic care management that I hope to engage kids in early and
Mm,
often with their parents and get them primed to be able to understand, look for clues. It is a detective agency,
mm.
and look for clues, look for observations, and then be able to communicate it back to their doctor. You know?
Yeah, yeah, love that self-efficacy, right? You're
Yes.
really working. I love how you're working on that autonomy piece of it, right? Because the interesting thing is once they develop those skills of by themselves, once they're able to recognize, oh my, I was a little bit more, less focused. I was more, you know, less attentive. And I had just a little bit of sleep. They can make those connections and then work on improving. And, this is something that, of course, sometimes you might need medications. Absolutely.
Mhm.
But there's even basic things, like you said, like protecting sleep, prioritizing it, making things, simplifying, creating systems in place that are so simple or less, onerous, and making sure that your sleep opportunity is protected.
Yes.
Because, teenagers need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. School age kids need 9 to 11. I could tell you at least almost 60% of middle schoolers are not getting that recommended hours, and nearly over 70% of high schoolers. So this is a
Yes.
huge problem. And now layer on top of that ADHD, the numbers are through the roof.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely something that I'm just really inspired by the fact that you're paying close attention, helping, members of the HQ really pay attention to this because it's just so important.
Yeah, and I mean, I think especially too, I'm just going to mention, if you're watching, post any questions, comments that you have about the course, about sleep, since we've got Dr. Brown on here. So don't be shy.
Mm,
I will say too, and I'm also going to put up here the fact that agency doors are now open until Sunday, March 13th. So you can go to my website and click on Teach Me ADHD to register. But I will say one of the things around ADHD and sleep, sometimes parents are hesitant to start medication for ADHD.
mm,
Well, one of the things that we can work on is self-care strategies to really improve focus, mood, right? And sleep is one of those. So again, this is even more reason if you're not going to start medication to really do everything else you can on those things that affect our executive functioning and our ability with to use our ADHD brains and still thrive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I talk about, I see everything in terms of sleep problems, right? I see everything from kids who just can't be detached from their cell phones to kids who have true underlying medical problems or very complex medical problems, right?
Hmm.
But regardless of that, every child can learn how to sleep. They may need some help, they may need medications, things like that. But one of the things that I usually tend to emphasize is having that consistency when it comes to their bedtime routine. It sounds like, come on, really? We want something more complicated and sophisticated. No. And, along the lines of what you're talking about, routine, right? We're all creatures of habits. And especially for children that have ADHD, it's, that ability to have structure, even structure at bedtime, where you know what next is coming, right? You have a routine. We know, okay, from here, we're putting the devices away. From here, we're taking our bath. You set that structure in place and you can backtrack and really literally use that same strategy for the rest of the day. So it's all part of that, having things scheduled, having things in a way that they can anticipate it, and it's just easier to follow overall, will improve sleep, and then you have all the benefits thereof.
Yes, yes. So just as a reminder, if you do enroll in my Teach Me ADHD course, you'll get 8 weeks of interactive Zoom here at headquarters with up to 11 other families. I have 2 class times this go around. We start the week of March 20th. But in addition, you get to be a part of this Teach Me ADHD community. And so families presently enrolled as well as past are in there. And again, that's where families will post evidence of their family missions and deeds that they're working on. But then they also ask questions of each other. And I bring Dr. Brown here today because she is one of my experts who I've brought into the community not once, but twice. And she was so great to come in and like just answer questions from the families around ADHD sleep. So we talked about melatonin use in kids with ADHD. Is that safe? How long can we use it? What's your favorite kind? Like all those different questions. And then we also talked about the association of screens and how it affects ADHD and sleep and all of that. So, you get access to front row access to folks like Dr. Brown who just are so lovely and supportive and want to share this information with you. So again, it's always so fun to
Yes. Oh,
see you.
yes. I've enjoyed the times. I've enjoyed coming to hang out in HQ. And I think that's been one of my favorite parts, actually, because everybody's journey is so unique,
Hmm.
right? Even within the ADHD community. Some people may be struggling with certain aspects more than others. And, there's some questions that you have this window of time, even if you go to your pediatrician and things like that, there's some burning questions that you might not be able to, get to the bottom of. And I think that's where having a community like this comes in, where it's like shared experiences, of course, really finding out how other people are managing and speaking to, having opportunities to kind of hang out with experts, different experts in the
Yes.
field. I think it's incredible because then you could post your unique questions and have them answered. And so I think it's just such a beautiful, beautiful opportunity.
Yeah. And of
Mhm.
course, we always value folks like you volunteering your time to come in. I mean, obviously, you're very busy. You have your own course too. If you can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have, because of my passion to help teenagers sleep better.
Yes.
So I have a course specifically for teens, and really it's a self-paced course, about 7, 8 modules, simple, short, really tailored for them. Because one of the things that I'm so passionate about is autonomy, and honestly, everything we tell our teens, most of the time it goes in through one ear, comes out through the other. When us as parents tell them, but having someone else really come in with that expertise, that's really what the Sleeping Teens course does. And in addition to the pre-recorded videos, which they can go as fast or as slow as they want. They also have a workbook with journaling prompts, because that, I feel, is such a great part of a bedtime routine as well. So they're actually talking, writing and reflecting on their own sleep journey. And then in addition to that, they have a sleep diary that they can use to track their sleep, because a lot of times when I speak with teenagers, they're like, oh yeah, everything's fine. And then, they look at the data, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm only getting 6 hours. So it's really, really just an incredible tool that I feel like it's so objective and very helpful.
Yeah, it's
To really,
empowering. It's
yes,
empowering, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And that's what we want to do, right? That's what we want to empower our kids, so that they're making those decisions because they understand the importance of it. And so
Yeah.
my website is restfulsleepmd.com/courses, and it's right on there. If you go right there, you could sign up, sign your teen up.
Yeah, I mean, and I will tell you that again, the approach that you just outlined is so lovely. I mean, again, I think we're doing the same thing. We really want to empower our kids or teens to
Mm,
understand the reason and then
mm,
take it upon themselves to learn these skills because we're going to set them up for lifelong success, you know?
mm, absolutely.
So yeah, it's great. And then for those of you who are not sure about the course, I do have mini class simulations, so they're free. I actually have one at 5:30 today, and you can just sign up, get the top secret link to join. You and your junior detective will meet me at headquarters. You can ask questions. I'll run it kind of like I do a training mission meeting. So if you're still on the fence or not sure, you're like, oh my gosh, in the Zoom class, what do you mean? That way you can see for yourself and your child can see if they're going to like the kind of way that it's done. They can ask me questions. And then for some kids who are a little bit like unsure of meeting new people, at least then they can meet me and ask questions. So again, if you are interested, please go to Act Now because agency doors are going to be closing March 13th. And then I will not open agency doors again until September. So I really can't wait to welcome you all into the course, into our community, and you get to hang out with Dr. Brown sometimes. So, get your
Yeah, I look
questions
forward to
answered.
meeting you and answering those questions. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And again, please make sure if you are watching this and you are a parent of a teen or tween and you're like, I wish I had someone like Dr. Brown in my life. Like go to her website, sign up for that course, and really go about it in a way so it doesn't create friction and you're actually allowing your child to sort of take the lead and develop these skills so they could be proud of it. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again so much. It was lovely to talk with you, Dr. Brown. I so appreciate you. I appreciate you. You know
I
that.
I appreciate you. Thank you for what you're doing. It's just incredible. I mean, I work with a lot of kids with ADHD, and I mean, just having this opportunity where you're in this community where it's safe and you're getting your questions answered and really moving the needle forward. It's amazing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't do it without, people like you here too to support the families, because they just need the help.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
So for those of you who are interested, I am going to be having pop-up events like this. So make sure to check out my YouTube channel or my Facebook pages because other families have come on and shared their experience. And I have another one scheduled on Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe Friday. So I'm always around. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. And I hope to welcome you and your junior detective to the agency soon. That's it for now. Bye-bye.